Hey guys, welcome back for another episode of Not the Girl Next Door. I'm your host, Meg Reynolds, and today's episode is kind of going to be a little bit of a mishmash. I know I've been giving you guys a lot of solo episodes this season, and I've been reaching out to guests and stuff, but there just hasn't been. I've just had a lot to say this season, and I think it's because I'm in this phase of life right now where I feel like I'm coming into myself all over again. It's like I feel like I'm going through a second puberty almost. Like, I don't know if that's a thing where your late 20s are kind of like a second puberty, but that's kind of how I've been feeling. And I feel like there's just been a lot to talk about. And before I get into the fun bits of today's episode and the actual lightheartedness that I planned it to be, I want to talk about where this episode's inspiration came from. And of course, it came from a very dark place. Shocker, it's me. But so obviously, trigger warning here. We're going to talk about my assault. And it's not in the way that you think. But April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And obviously every year I talk about it. I share statistics. I always acknowledge it because obviously I've been victimized not once, but twice in my life. And I've told you guys the story of how my ex joked that he had sex with me in my sleep. And I consider that an assault because, one, I still don't know if he did or didn't, if he was just joking. Either way, it was incredibly traumatic. And obviously, that's now two boyfriends who have caused me pain in that way. But you're probably thinking, why is the episode titled Want to Flirt then? Because this just... what are we doing here, Meg? And I promise there's a point. But there was a time in my life where that pain really overshadowed everything. And obviously it is such a sensitive topic, especially now that, CNN just did this whole investigative piece about an online website where there's a lot of discourse online about what the actual number is, if it's 62 million unique users or just 62 million website visits. Either way, there was 62 million hits on a website where men were talking strategy and teaching each other how to rape their wives and rape women. That is just not okay. It never will be okay. But that's not really directly what inspired this episode. What inspired this episode is how, in spite of all that pain and all this darkness, I have found a path back to light. I have found a path back to myself, and I found a path back to just living life happily. And there were a lot of days where that was not easy, right? Like I had to make the conscious decision a lot of times to get out of bed, to move forward, to keep going, to find a happy moment in a day, to find something that made me smile. And the thing is, with over time, I no longer was having to think about being happy. I just was. And I put that in practice. And so that is kind of where this episode came from, is because it wasn't just about the assault. Like so much of my life I spent just not living. I was just going through the motions, and so much of it was spent taking myself too seriously, taking the future too seriously. I mean, I was looking at colleges in like the 6th grade. I was like making like that. That is insane that I had so much. I felt there was such a weight of the world on my shoulders at such a young age. And because I spent so much life not living, I now have gotten to the place where I am reconnecting with my younger self. And I've talked about this a lot. This is a huge theme of the podcast, is romanticizing your life and romanticizing the little moments. But the thing about romanticizing life, right, is it's just the feeling, it's just the thoughts, which is great. This is a great first step in the practice of truly living. But I think to take it a step further is you actually need to put action behind that, right? And it's like, well, how do we romanticize our lives? I think that's through flirting. I think flirting it's the spice of life. Flirting is what makes the world go round. And I think that is the thing that requires action. And basically, you're going to French kiss your life. I want you to make out with life. Like, in every movie scene, I know we're doing such a tangent right now, guys. I promise I didn't want this episode to be really dark, but I had to kind of set the stage there. Anyways, But you know that scene in like every TV show, every movie where the girl walks in and she's just beaming. She is glowing. She is just radiating this energy. And her friends look at her and go, "You had sex, didn't you?" And it's like the whoa moment. That is how I want you to approach, like, be going through life. I want everyone to look at you and think you just had the best sex of your life last night because you were just so damn happy. Truth be told, you're probably not sleeping around because we have self-respect in this house. But, you know, this is the kind of energy I want to radiate every single day. And I want you to radiate every single day because it's just that unbridled, freeing joy. And, you know, I wrote something in my journal the other day that kind of ties into this podcast, but I said in my journal the other day that when I was reflecting on being 27 and all these things, I said, I'm currently the oldest I've ever been and the youngest I'll ever be ever again. And somehow I know so much and still so little at the same time. And kind of that whole passage I wrote in my journal was just really me talking about how I still don't have it all figured out and I don't need to, and kind of reminding myself of that because, again, it's so easy, and especially in our late 20s, to put that pressure on ourselves of why don't we have it all figured out? You know, especially looking at our parents at our age, like my mom had me at 26. So she had a newborn at 27 and like, oh my God, I'm nowhere close to owning a home. But at the same time, it's like being this age now and thinking of my parents then, and knowing who my parents are. No offense, mom and dad, I love you, but God damn, I know you didn't know jack shit. I know you guys were also floundering and probably feeling all the same things that I'm feeling. And everyone's parents probably felt like this. And the older I get, the more I realize adults are just overgrown children with real money to throw around. Like that is what adulthood is. And so that's kind of where this flirting with life thing comes in, because it's the fun and it's the light part of connecting with people. It's the banter. It's all the stuff before you trauma dump on them and you scare them away. Not actually, but like that is, you know, flirting. You can't be chalant or nonchalant. Yeah, you can't be nonchalant and also a flirt, in my opinion. Like I have never known a chalant day in my life. I don't know what that means. Chill girl energy fears me. I don't have a chill freaking bone in my body. I am a type A, I can be a very overwhelming person, and I know that about myself, and I've accepted that part of myself, but I also know when certain times those things come up and where the feelings come from. But anyways, I think flirting is what makes connecting with people less scary. And I don't just mean flirting in like a romantic sense with your crush. I mean flirting in all aspects of our life, because romanticizing our thoughts, it's a very passive action. It's a very thought-based action. It's, you know, it's an aesthetic thing. It's like, oh, you know, oh, my morning coffee and oh, my eye patches. Yeah, that's great, right? But flirting is the thing that kicks it up a notch. It's active, it's energetic. You're embodying this. You're actually embodying this energy. And that, I think, is how we eventually lead to having these deeper committed relationships or these deeper career paths, is because flirting allows us to take ourselves less seriously, right? Like you can't take yourself too seriously and be bantering with somebody or bantering with yourself. It's just not possible. And this is why you need both. This shows how you need both depth in your life and lightness in your life. Because as much as I am not a chill, nonchalant person, I also recognize that I really struggle with taking myself too seriously sometimes. And flirting my way through life is how I'm able to lighten up and how I am able to take myself less seriously. I'm not someone who can just go out there and make a fool of myself and not have any public embarrassment or secondhand embarrassment, cringe, whatever. Like I very much, I'm struggle with those things. Like, even though I'm also a content creator, like I hate filming in public. This is why I really suck at days in my life, because I'm like, the thought of filming in front of a client makes me want to crawl out of my own skin. And I think my manager would feel the same way. But like, flirting is what sets the pace. It sets the tone. You can kind of get a feel of somebody's energy. And again, in all aspects, like I'm not just talking in the romantic sense, because flirting doesn't have to be a sexual romantic thing. It can just be you. Oh my God, you're in the bathroom. oh my God, I love that person. Where'd you get that? That's so, like, that can be considered flirting your way through life. Like, it's just more so of an energy versus what we think of when we say flirt typically of like, oh, I'm trying to get this person in bed. Like, that's more so what I am talking about here. Flirting our way through life, like, helps take us also out of this performative state that we're in a way. And because I think too, like, when you're taking yourself less seriously and you're able to just flirt your way through life, you don't feel as tense in your body. You don't feel as overwhelmed in your body. And, you know, you're not just going through the motions of things. And this is why the flirting with life starts with flirting with ourselves, right? You know, you can't flirt with life and have this big bubbly energy if you're just at war with yourself. It's possible. I did it for a long time, but it caught up with me at a certain point. You know, I've talked about before how growing up, I was always known as just Little Miss Sunshine, and how I was always the happy, bubbly person and no one ever had to worry about me because Meg is Little Miss Sunshine. But it caught up with me at some point until I became a shell of myself and I no longer was even able to fake it till I made it. Like, so if you're at war with yourself, if you hate yourself, like, you know, you're not gonna be able to radiate this energy. And so the ways we can start flirting with ourselves is, you know, I don't want to just say self-care because again, that's such a generic, broad term, but being polished and put together for yourself, whatever that looks like to you, making yourself feel beautiful in whatever way that you feel, not based on societal expectations, not based on trends and beauty standards, whatever makes you feel like yourself, doing that every single day is an act of self-flirtation. It's not for anybody else. It's for you. And it's the simplest entry point to connecting with yourself in a deeper level. Because again, getting vulnerable with ourselves is really scary. Getting to know ourselves is super overwhelming. And it is so hard to dig deep and do that work. So if you're able to kind of flirt with yourself and, you know, joke with yourself, laugh at yourself, that is going to start bridging the gap of your ability to get really deep and connect with yourself. It's, you know, you're going in the kiddie pool, you're going in the shallow end of the pool before you dive right in. And I think that's why too many people chicken out of therapy and just all this other inner child work, attachment work, because they go balls to the wall, they go all in and they scare themselves. That's kind of, you know, I talked about last week how a guy from my past came back again, I told you they always come back. And he said he changed, said he wanted to do all these things, and then just immediately shut down. And I sensed the shift. And finally, after him being MIA for a week, even though we literally see each other every day, he lives down the hall from me. He finally came over to have a conversation with me. And I don't know, chill. I do not let shit go. I will hold a fucking grudge. If I think we have to have a conversation, we will have that damn conversation. And what I mean, I don't just mean like if I'm never going to see you again. If I'm never going to see you again, we can agree to let the shit go, right? This is the difference between knowing when to react to something versus just take mental note of it. This was a situation where I'm in this building at least until October. I am not going to live down the hall from you and pass you every single day and not make you have a conversation with me. Like, I don't do the elephant in the room shit. I'm going to talk it out. And that's just how I've always been. And I used to think that was a bad thing and like was like I used to think it was a bad thing because it's like I can't let things go and it would riddle me with anxiety. Now I kind of recognize like, no, this is me standing up for myself after years and years and years of being a people-pleasing doormat who never would call anybody on their bullshit. Now it's like I'm almost too confrontational sometimes and like, I don't know, whatever. But anyways, this man walks in my apartment and guys, he looked like he wanted to shit himself. Like he wanted to crawl out of his own skin because he was like so terrified of what I was about to say. But I looked at him, he was like, what do you want to talk about? And I go, I don't know. I'm waiting for you to tell me. You're the one that's been MIA. And like, I was so just cool, calm, and collected. And I think that made him even more nervous. But the point of this is what he said to me was actually really sad. He said to me, the reason he pulled away was because it got too real for him. He got too emotionally in depth. He got too emotionally invested and he got scared. Verbatim what this man said to me. So it's like he's saying the quiet part out loud. And I actually appreciated that he didn't give me some bullshit excuse of, oh, I'm just busy with work. I'm just this, that, the other. Like he was like, no, I scared myself because it got real with you. And it would have been real with you. Cool, great. You can't meet me at my emotional depth. That is totally fine. But the thing that made me laugh the most was he then started in the whole like, but it's not you, it's me. Like you didn't do anything wrong. And I just looked at him and I go, I know I didn't do anything wrong. How could I have done anything wrong? I did absolutely nothing. And that also took him off guard, which was really funny in itself. But, you know, this isn't me trying to dog on him. It's just, this is what happens when you do not work through your own shit. He is so in his own head, in his own toxic cycles, in his own system of self-sabotage, that getting emotionally real with someone like me who has done the work, even though he feels safe with me, he still shuts down because he's not used to that and he can't work through that. And that is not my problem. And the only reason I've been able to get to this place where I'm like, you know what, I'm washing my hands of it is because I've done the work and I know that I know myself so well at this point. And how I was able to get there is by flirting with life, is by just recognizing that not everything requires me to be so serious and learning when to do the two. But when it comes to the self-flirtation piece, his body language was so telling. His arms were crossed and he was like, you could see his shoulders were coming forward and he was just like folding in on himself. It was almost as if he was trying to protect himself. And so this is why I'm saying how you carry yourself too is an act of self-flirtation, holding your head up, making eye contact with people, smiling at them. It's the energy you have when you walk into a room. It's like you're building that confidence from the inside out by flirting with yourself. And your morning rituals, that all plays into it. Your coffee, your playlist, your performative eye masks, like whatever it is. You know, your body is not just a machine for productivity. It's for pleasure. And that sounded really fucking sexual. I didn't mean it like that, but it's for joy. Like it's to frolic. It's to jump. It is to go run, work out. Like our bodies are so powerful that because they allow us to live such lives. And yet so many people just are treating them as machines to be optimized. And yes, you need to take care of it. You need to take care of yourself, but not to the extent that people are doing nowadays. So I think if you're someone who is really struggling with this idea of flirting with yourself, I think something you can ask yourself is, what is one thing I can do for myself just for the pleasure of it? Just for fun. There's no outcome attached. There's no life or death scenario. There's no money to be made from it. It's like for me, again, needle pointing, drawing, I really want to go thrift actually, like a vintage bag and paint on it. You know, just these little things that make you feel good. Is it just the act of getting dressed up and doing your hair for the day, doing your makeup for the day, even if you have nowhere to go but your couch? Like, what is it that's going to make you feel something else entirely? So flirting with other people. Again, it does not have to be your crush. It can be your crush. And I recommend, even if you think your crush isn't interested back, you can just have a lighthearted flirt with them. But flirting makes people feel good. Like think of the last time a stranger complimented you and how whenever someone compliments me, it's like, oh, that just made my fucking day. That I'm going to tell everybody about that. Oh, how's your day? Oh, it was so great. This random person told me this, like they liked my outfit. Oh, that feels so good. Like flirting is the thing that makes the world go round. And it brings out a different side of people that maybe you wouldn't have seen otherwise. Again, I think flirting is what makes people's defense mechanisms go down a little bit and it makes them soften to you. It's, you know, it's not just a way to make somebody's day. It's a way to make someone feel comfortable opening up with you. Like, you know, you can have some sort of dialogue, and it's a connective tissue between strangers because there's no strings attached to it, right? There's no obligations. There's no strings. Like there's no ulterior motive. Maybe you flirt out of an ulterior motive, but if you do, you're an asshole. Like flirting is just fun. And also doing those things like the eye contact, the smiling, the complimenting, it's something that helps build your confidence as well because you're getting used to putting yourself out of your comfort zone. You're getting used to meeting strangers and all of these things. Like I want you to be so confident in yourself and so confident with life and feel so much feels like you're going to burst at the seams with how much joy you have in your life that you just have to share that, right? That's how I feel some days where I'm like, everything is just so good right now. I want to burst with this. And like, it almost then, yeah, tying back to the feeling like you got fucked thing, it's almost like it makes you so horny, you're happy with life. I don't know if that makes sense. This is a really interesting episode coming out of my mouth, but we're rolling with it. And platonic flirting is kind of a lost art in a sense. Like, everyone thinks, oh, if I flirt with them, it means I want to fuck them. No, that's not what it means. It's just good banter. Like, bring back the art of just the good flirt, especially now that the weather's getting warmer. Like, you want to ask me my perfect Sunday? I'm in a cute outfit. I got an Aperol spritz in my hand. I'm on a rooftop somewhere with some good SPF. I'll probably catch a little bit of a tan. I'm with my friends and I'm just flirting the day away. And I don't care what time it is. I don't care what I have going on the next day. I am just so in the moment. And that is my perfect Sunday. And you know what? I'm going to go have myself a perfect Sunday in New York when I go in a couple weeks. Oh yeah, because that's the other thing. This is me flirting with life again. I told you guys like 6 months ago that I really wanted to find a way to split my time between Nashville and New York, and I'm doing it. I am doing it. I'm going to New York for an entire week, and I don't really have any concrete business meetings yet. I've got feelers out there, but you know what? I'm just doing it because at least the act of doing it, I will physically be there. And even still, even if I don't have any work meetings, it's like, okay, that's an editing week for me. I can't take any shoots. I can't get distracted. I am there and I'm going to get shit done and I'm going to spend time with the people I love. And that is me flirting with life. And so I want you to do something like that for yourself. Like, if you make a promise to yourself, if there's something you've been saying you want to do, just go start fucking doing it. Even if it sucks, even if it is terrible, because the thing is, you can always make it better, but you can't fix something that doesn't exist. Like, if you haven't put pen to paper, if you haven't started creating whatever it is, if you haven't executed any of the plans that you have, you can't go and fix them because there's nothing to fix. It doesn't exist. Right? And so this is why I'm saying flirting with life is so much more than just, it is so much more than just complimenting the stranger. And it is so much more than just putting on a cute outfit and feeling good about yourself. It is from the inside out. I want to talk about the guy again, and just, this is the piece of flirting with life that I think where things get messy is because when it comes to dating, we want to go slow, right? And I think flirting and yearning go hand in hand, and you can't build a relationship like that. So yes, things should go slow, and flirting keeps it light and fun. But it does beg the question though, is like, when is casual no longer casual? When is casual toxic? And I said this to the guy, during our conversation, we were talking and I said, like, the one thing I asked of you was just honesty and communication. You failed at that. That is what I'm upset with. I'm not upset that we're, going to just stay friends. I'm not upset that you're not ready for a relationship. That is not what I'm upset about. What I'm upset about is your lack of honesty and integrity and respect for me and the communication piece. And if more people just said what they meant, dating would be so much easier. It would be so much less toxic. It would be less stressful. It would be less overwhelming, because I think a lot of times too, we talk about how words and actions don't align, right? But we always talk about it in the reverse. We talk about it in the sense of like, oh, he's saying he wants a relationship. He's saying he wants to pursue me, but then he's just not. And we talk about the actions and words aligning in that piece. But what we don't talk about enough is when the actions and words don't align in the opposite. What do I mean? Like, when they're sitting there telling you, I'm not ready for a relationship. I don't want commitment. I just want this to be casual. But then they're in your bed every night. They're constantly texting you and communicating with you, asking how your day is. They're getting emotionally invested with you. They're getting invested with your friends. Maybe they're even meeting your family. Like, that is when the reverse of the words and actions don't align. And that's why the casual dating things get so much more messy. And I think that's the piece that's not talked about enough, because in a way, I think that's even more manipulative and fucked up, is to be saying, oh, I don't want a relationship with you, and then doing all the things that a boyfriend would do. And if you're in that scenario, there's two sides to this. If you're the woman in that scenario, actually, I don't want to say the woman. If you're the person in that scenario who wants the relationship, it is on you to just take their words at face value and not read into the other actions, right? Because it is so easy to be like, well, he's saying this, but he's doing this. And if he's doing this, maybe it does mean that he wants me, but he's just scared, blah, blah, blah. Take the words at face value. and don't get more emotionally invested. And on the flip side, if you're the person that's saying, I don't want a relationship, but then you're still acting as if this person is in a relationship, and you would get upset if this person slept with somebody else or was talking to somebody else, went on a date with somebody else, it is on you as the person who doesn't, I think it is on you if you're the person that doesn't want a relationship, but you know the person that you're sleeping with does. I think it's on you to then to end it and remove yourself. And while you may think, well, what? But I was honest with them. No, there comes a point where you're kind of being manipulative. You're kind of being manipulative. And you're just taking advantage of them at that point. Like, you're just being mean. You're not technically doing anything wrong, but it is still just mean because you know how this person feels about you. And let's be so real. You probably like the attention. You probably like the energy that they're giving you. You probably like how it feels, but you just don't want to commit because you still want to see what it's out there. You have your issues, whatever it is. But it kind of becomes on you at a certain point to end that scenario. Like, staying in a dynamic like that when you know the other person is interested in you, like, technically, yes, it is their responsibility to say, I deserve better. I want out. Like, this is not enough for me, blah, 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 blah. Just because you're not technically doing anything wrong does not mean you're not being a bad person. Like, that does not still make you a good moral character. It's unkind, it's mean, and it's a mismatched power dynamic that you have the upper hand in, and you're just taking it. You're not technically doing anything wrong because you were honest and you communicated, but there is so much more required in these situations that goes a lot further. It's, as Penn Badgley said, is it ever really casual? No, I think it can be. I do think casual things can work, but casual doesn't work, in my opinion, without boundaries. Like, if I've had situations where I've been truly platonic and casual with a guy, and I literally only would see him when it was, that time of night. Like, I wouldn't text him, wouldn't hang out with him, wouldn't do any of those things because I know myself and I know I would get attached, even though I know in my heart he wasn't right for me. But that's besides the point. Like, casual can't exist without clear boundaries. And I think that is where people really go wrong with when they try to do it. And I think that's how situationships turn toxic, is because, again, everyone always talks about the words and actions not aligning, in the sense of the, they say they want to pursue me and they're just not, but it's not talked about enough when it's, they say they don't want a relationship, but they're literally doing every single thing that a boyfriend should do. And it's like, what's up? So that's why I'm saying, like, flirting with your friends, flirting with life, flirting with the stranger, like at the coffee shop, flirting in the airport, all of it, like, bring it back. I think the world would be such a happier place if everyone just flirted a little bit more and had a little more fun and, was a little more lighthearted and carefree. Like, I'm not saying to just fuck around, but whatever. Something else I want you to do when it comes to flirting with your life is flirting with your career. I've had a career change already had it at 25, and it's, my career path has been incredibly nonlinear. It's been a whole lot of ups and downs. And I think that is, this idea of a nonlinear career and portfolio careers, I think that is the new shape of ambition, right? Like, most people nowadays, in the past, ambition was just, you go to college, you get the 9-to-5, you climb the corporate ladder, and that is it. You get your little 5% bonus every year, and that's all you need in life. Now, ambition looks different because a lot of people are multifaceted, which is a great thing. They make money in so many different ways, and their identities go so much deeper than just their career. But the old model of commit, specialize, and climb doesn't work anymore. And the new model of career and identity and, success, I would argue, is flirting with multiple lanes, flirting with multiple talents, flirting with different types of career paths, trying different things out. Like, date your career before you marry it. Just like everything. I honestly think most things in life are like relationships, where you have to try a couple things out before you find the one that you're going to settle down with. Like, for me, I've talked about in terms of tour photography, flirting with different camps before I find the one that fits. Like, flirting with different careers, flirting with different therapists. I've had so many you have to date around to find your therapist. Like, most things in life are actually a dating game, and it just takes a couple of times to figure out where you want to land. And figuring that out looks like doing different side projects, different side hustles, pivots, experiments, just trying things, like just saying, oh, I enjoy this. Let me see about it. Like, let me learn about it. And the fear of that I think keeps people from flirting with life in this way is, again, it's another aspect of living a fear-driven life, where it's the fear of looking scatterbrained and looking like you're doing too much and actually looking like you don't know yourself. But reality is, most people go through life having never gotten to know themselves, never being able to answer the question of, who am I? And I think flirting with your life in this way is how you're going to actually be able to answer that question confidently and accurately. And, the key, though, with this piece of flirting with your life is knowing when the flirting has run its course and knowing when it's time to commit. And that's with all things. Flirting is the bridge. Flirting is what makes it lighthearted and less scary. But sometimes at a certain point, eventually going to have to take the training wheels off. And that's when it's no longer about flirting and it's time to get serious. And, everyone's talking about these analog hobbies and inner child work and inner child healing. And I almost wonder if flirting is the adult way of doing that inner child work and all that stuff. Like, it's the PG-13 version of it. I don't know. But following our passions is just a way to flirt forever. And I think if you are in a situation right now, especially, it seems like everyone's going through an identity crisis in their late 20s. And, it's the Saturn return thing, whatever. We can talk about that another day. But when you look at your childhood, I want you to think of what you wanted to be growing up or what you enjoyed doing growing up, and see if there's any threads of that still alive that really connect to who you are today as an adult. Like, do any of those pieces of your childhood self still resonate with you? Do you still feel called to do it and you feel that pull? And I think that's when flirting with your career and life in that regard really helps, because it's going to make it less scary to get back to those parts of yourself. You're going to allow yourself to not take things so seriously and just go with it. But the hard question too is, like, flirting isn't a cure-all, right? Sometimes, like, flirting, the one thing that flirting requires is presence. It requires a consciousness, and like, it requires a acknowledgement. But the thing that blocks that is our anxieties, our numbness, our grief, our fear, all of these things. And when we're in such a dark state like that, it's very easy for the flirting to just actually turn into toxic positivity. And just, we're almost then gaslighting ourselves like, no, see, life is great and blah, blah, blah. There is a difference between embodying the feeling of enjoying life and flirting with it and just trying to gaslight yourself and say, no, nothing's wrong. I'm great. Like, and forcing your way through life in that way. And it's important that you're able to recognize the difference. And I can't tell you what that feels like in your body. I can't sit there and say, here's how it's going to feel, because everyone reacts differently. Like, I know for me, the way my anxiety presents in my body, and I can feel it when it's bubbling up, but how it feels for me is very different for how it feels to other people. I think, this is where learning how to commit comes in, because everyone seems to have commitment issues. Everyone's got commitment issues. But flirting is what allows us to commit, and it's what deepens any form of connection. So if you're struggling to identify when you're flirting versus when you're actually avoiding life, like, and you're never fully showing up, I need you to ask yourself, like, what would it look like if you fully committed to your life and not just flirted with it? Like, almost like list out the ways that you want to flirt with your life, the habits you want to build and all that stuff, and then write out what your life looks like if you keep every single promise to yourself, and write out what it looks like when you're living the version of yourself that you're aspiring to be. And that's how you'll be able to identify the areas of your life that you need to flirt with a little bit more. Because if it feels super scary, you probably need to flirt with it a little bit more. It probably needs a little more warming up, a little a little foreplay, if you will. Oh my God, what is wrong with me today? I don't know where this episode came from. I started out talking like so dark and deep, and now I'm talking about foreplay with life. Am I okay? I don't think I am. So I want you to be so in love with your life. I want you to wake up tomorrow morning. I want you to get a really good night's sleep tonight after you listen to this episode, or whenever you listen to this episode, whatever day it is. I want you to get a really good night's sleep. And the next morning, I want you to wake up and walk into every room with that glow, like you just had the best sex of your life. And that is how you need to look at life. Remember to just smile, make eye contact, keep your head up this week, and, wear the good outfit, wear something that makes you feel confident. Like, do whatever you need to do. I dare you this week to just implement 1 to 2 little tiny changes. Do it consistently for an entire week to flirt with your life and see how it makes you feel. And I will promise you, I will guarantee you will feel a difference by the end of the week, because it is so easy to get wrapped up in our own existence and wrapped up in our own heads. And flirting is the thing that's going to take us out of it. All right. And allow us to not take things so seriously. But that is all for this week's chaotic and crazy episode of Not the Girl Next Door. Make sure you leave us a 5-star review wherever you're listening. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, if you haven't already, Not the Girl Next Door podcast is your weekly dose of tough love, but the Snail Mail Club is your monthly dose of tough love. So the Tough Love Club, every single month, I send one of my photo prints along with some journal prompts and a letter detailing the theme of the month. Now we include some stickers and bookmarks, and it's just a fun, slow, and intentional hobby that you can get into every single month. And I know for me, journaling has really helped me out, and it's allowed me to come to these conclusions and be silly and more lighthearted with my episodes. So take it from me, journaling is definitely a hobby you should get into. And if you're struggling to get into it, Tough Love Club has you covered. So subscribe to that. And I will see you guys next week for another episode. Bye for now.